Story Week is really an extension of the classroom effort to get this broad range of voices.
When you write a story or a novel, you are not telling the truth. You are in fact making things up. Nothing that happens in a story or a book actually happened.
When he saw me, he smiled and extended the container. Want a sip? I smiled and shook my head, no thanks, then hugged him. Good? Yeah.
Hubert Selby was like my mentor. When I wrote my first book, The Wanderers, they asked me, well, who would you like to send it to for blurbs? I said, how about Hubert Selby Jr.? And it was like a Little League player being asked, who would you like to watch your games, and saying Willie Mays, you know.
When I became conscious of the importance of history, I just sat down with a notebook and asked my mother, when she was still alive, to tell me everything she possibly could about her relatives and her aunts.
Was Chicha a girl that begged for stories? I was. I begged big time. But fortunately for me, my grandfather was a wonderful storyteller. In the evening, my grandfather would light a lantern, and he would call all of us cousins, and we would sit around the lantern, which would throw shadows onto the walls, and he would tell us wonderful, wonderful stories out of our folk literature in Bengal.
The better to haggle with, the grandmother insists.
It was felt to be too strong for what many slave owners preferred to characterize as a family squabble.
Next to last chapter in Reading Like a Writer is about Chekhov, and one of the reasons that I admire him so much and that he's such a hero to me and always will be is when you read Chekhov, it's as if he has no skin. It's as if there's nothing that he can't imagine. You know. Oh.
I'm still a disc jockey at heart. I know they call me one thing or another, but I'm a disc jockey. I began that way. No, I began as a gangster, I should point this out.
A writer who stole the gorgeously weird pulse of the city and rustled it right onto the page, and the city, being the city, in return gave him a street and then took it away. Tonight we pay tribute to Algren's inimitable words.
Censorship is to art as lynching is to justice. I'm really concerned about internal censorship within the group. Can we afford to say this sort of thing in public? And what will, as from a black point of view, what will white people think of us?
As a brown woman in the 21st century, for me the difference is not what is being told, but who is doing the telling.
No woman, no cry. And that's St. William watched.
And I said, honey, I think I'm too old. She's like, it's a persona, it's a character, you're ageless, do the shit. Okay.
You end up shouting a lot and feeling passionately about the book that you think should get it, and it goes back and forth, and it's very subjective depending on who the panel is that year.
I'm a storyteller, even though I write books. What interests me more than anything is what they call narrative, you know, the stories. And I'm kind of obsessive about it. It's like, I don't know why. I think part of it comes from growing up in a community where
then we would realize how empowering knowledge is, information is, and we wouldn't be so hung up.
They smell like chihuahuas. Wet chihuahuas. The troop was still at the entrance, and though we had passed them by yards, Arnetta raised her nose in the air and grimaced.
Nevertheless, it's the specific that rivets us. It's the grain of the voice. It's the eccentric moment. And so character comes out of voice, and all interest coalesces and finds itself in this absolutely particular place. You know.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, a laughing lass, Antonio Lowe.
We started Story Week 13 years ago. Seems like it was yesterday. We had I think 3 writers and maybe 2 days, something like that. And now we have a full week, and we have 19 different events and over 50 people, plus open mic readers and so on involved, which probably pushes it close to 100.